Hi everyone, I thought I'd do an impromptu video tour of my craft room as it stands at the moment. It's not actually a room, it's a tiny space next to the kitchen which I've blocked off with bookshelves. So as we come into my room, this is the cat wheel that Orion uses whenever I'm videoing. It makes that horrible noise in the background. And my husband has put a makeshift door on the two bookcases so that theoretically I can close it off from the cats, but we all know that doesn't work. On the door I actually have my scan and cut and cricket mats, and also some work in progress bags and an apron for when things get really messy. And if I just squeeze into the room, I also have, my apologies, all my cricket vinyls hanging off the door. And as I back into the room, you can see that it's a quite a narrow gap that I have to get in. And I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to go through the gap again to show you bits and pieces in the room. So as we walk in, I have a craft cart, which I have some props for doing the photos. And on the top is all of my pre-cut cardstock for card fronts in the American and Australian sizes. And then just towards the back there I have card bases which are ready to get scored and then folded. And then as we come in again, on the second shelf and the third shelf, or the bottom shelf, I have all of my envelopes and square cards and things like that. And then just next to that I've just got some of my highlighters and my Archon mount that I use for videoing things in the kitchen when I'm doing cakes and things like that. And then we come to my work in progress craft trolley. This is the craft trolley that I use all the time. It has a hang on the bed kind of basket which I keep my Misty and my mini scoreboards, a rag for cleanup, and I've got my little stamp press board there, some notepaper, my 6-inch little tea rulers live there as well, and I've got all of my frequently used tapes hanging on the side. This is my little Heffy Doodle little mini die cutting machine, and then I've got my white 3D foam dots and squares, and I've also got black ones and clear ones there. On the top I have a little filing basket here for things I need to either put away or photograph. This container here is going to hold all my sentiments in little pouches like this. I'll show you a bit more of that in a minute. In the back I have some sentiment strips that I use all the time. Then I have my most common nesting sets. I've got circles, ovals, squares, rectangles. And then over here, some of my less used ones, but they still do get used, which is things like the heart, hexagon, tags, that kind of thing. And Orion's calling out to us. He was just running, but now he stopped. Then going down onto the middle shelf, I have just some bits and pieces I still need to put away. Oops, Orion is saying hello. My apologies for the shake of the camera there. I've got my craft foam scraps. This is really useful for when I just need a sentiment or something small layered on the front of a card. Just a little box for filing. This little container here holds all of my embellishments. Well, not all of them, but the little dots and things. I'll show you what that looks like. The little tote is from Totally Tiffany, and I believe it's called the Karen. Yes, it is. And I've just, as you can see, I've just popped into like colour groups, all of my little dots and things like that. So they're all nice and easy to get to. And then on the bottom shelf, I have my little water jar for painting. I've got some photos here that I use to demonstrate my albums with. I've got an album tutorial in progress there, and just some more little ribbons, bits and pieces like that. And then hanging on the side of my trolley, I've got my most used pens and things, scissors, decorative scissors and hole punches, and my Zig watercolours there. So now moving on to the first shelf, which acts as a wall. Over in the far corner are things that I can't get to very easily, so they tend to just live there and I only pull them out seasonally. So up on the top shelf, those booklets there are from Uniquely Creative when they used to do their kits. That's all their little design books. And then I've got some colour cubes, and behind the cat there I've got some pre-made albums that I've done, some chipboard scraps, and then I've got my paper scraps in those there. They're the little A5 binders that I put all my stencils in from my cookie decorating days, as well as ones to use for cards and albums. And then we come to my embossing folders, and the next one along is Kindred stamps. I've got them all by themselves. I can't get hold of those anymore, so I'm fortunate to have quite a collection already of them in my science fiction nerdy ones that I like. Then on the next shelf we have Alter New stamps and dies. And then I've got 2 containers of die cuts. They're split into themes. And then over there behind Orion, I've got my Christmas stamps and dies. They only come out seasonally. They normally go and live over in the corner. And the next one over from that is my Snazzy Scrap and dies and my large stamp sets and full background stamps. So moving on to the next shelf, where is it? There we go. My Lavinia stamps, some work in progress bags there. That little rattan container there has stamps that I'm yet to file and catalogue. Got a few Concord and Knights, and then in here, which I can still get to, is some more Totally Tiffany bags, and these hold the inks that don't fit on my desk. And that bag is called the Stephanie bag, and they're brilliant. And then moving down, just there is all my boxes of sequins and little clay decorations for my shaker cards and things like that. I've got a lot of them because I have a lot of sequins left over from calisthenic days when my daughter competed in calisthenics. And I have my cardstock that I use for my stamp cataloguing, and I also have pre-cut A5 sheets for when I actually make a catalogue. And that's my little We Are Memory Keepers multi-cinch, and I've got little magnet sheets in there with the stamp pockets, and then further on in is just some empty little containers and spare ones. Down the bottom I've got lots of ribbon. They're from my cake decorating days. I still have to go through them and decide what I can use for cards and what I can't. And I have some hole punches in there that I don't really use a lot. So then we move over to next to my table. I've got number 1 cat bed there, or it's actually 2, it's got one in the bottom as well. I have my Go Power and Emboss machine, which is an electric die cutting machine that we can get here in Australia. Got that sitting there, and all of the plates and things for it live in there, as well as spare plates for my other machines. And in the top drawer is my instant camera for when I take photos of cards and pop them onto the back of my card sketch cards, which I'll show you in a moment. I don't have the IKEA system of drawers because they're too big for my room, so I have these ones from Spotlight. So the top one here is all of my different pastes and mediums. The second one I've got to relabel still, I have been redoing my ink pads, as you've seen on the videos. So this one is still a work in progress. I've just got odds and ends in there at the moment. The third one is my distress inks, which I'm still yet to change over to the new system. They're still in the old system where I put them all into these containers. But as you can see, they just don't fit well in these drawers, which is why I'm changing it. This one has all my planner bits and pieces. And the bottom one is the We Are Memory Keepers boards. There's envelope boards, all that kind of thing in there. So then coming up, we now are at my desk, which is an old dining table, which was too small to actually sit and eat at. So I'm just repurposing it. So as you can see, it's not a big space, but we'll go through it. So over here I have my hot foil machine in the bottom drawer, better press letterpress in the top drawer, some micro brushes. That's all the scrap bits of paper I have when I put my stamps away in their pockets. I keep all that for sentiments and things like that. Got all my foils in there, my splat box and my Xyron machine just there. I have this is my camera mount system here with my headphones. My microphone's normally on there as well. And I have my iPad just sits on a little pedestal there. I've just got some camera bits and pieces and my hard drive in that little container at the back. The laptop my son kindly gave to me, I just have that on a cake board of all things, and it just slides back when I need the table space. And I've just got a little keyboard which sits here so I can still use the computer even though it's further away. Then over there where Cleo is, I've just got a couple more drawers there. They're just full of like business cards and photo blanks, so I know what size things I need to put into albums. So I'm just going to move this system out of the way so I can show you behind. Okay, I've got in 3D printed things my son did for me. I've got all my oxides. I've got my main colour swatching book there. I've just got some fine liners and watercolour pencils as well. Those two there are my different pencils. I think it's Polychromos and Faber-Castell. And I've got my Tombow textures back in there. And they are my folders for sentiment strips. And the reason I'm changing my system is because directly above here is my light box. So I can't actually get to the folders unless I move my light box out of the way, which if I'm in the middle of doing a video, it doesn't work. So my sentiments just don't get used. Hence I'm changing the system. So here, my keyboard normally lives just there. I've got some of my catalogue books of stamps there. I've got extra embellishments. These ones are like gems that live in there. Glitter glue, 12-inch T-ruler, and the large tape runner gun lives there. I need two hands to put it there though. Okay, and then over here we've got more inks. These are Stampin' Up! Ink towers, and I bought them secondhand off Marketplace, and my very clever husband joined them together so they're double the height, which works perfectly in this far corner. So I've got the stamp pads in there. These ones are Catherine Pooler, and this one here is Lavinia Elements, and the rest of it is Simon Says Stamp Positively Saturated inks. And then on the little boxes I've got twine, glitter, Lindy's Magicals and Colour Blast. And what I've done with those is I've popped a hole in the lid, so, and then put a little, that's like a a pin in the top. I remove the pin, you can shake it onto your card, so you're only using a little bit at a time. And I've got a little swatch of what it looks like on the top. And then I've also got little containers that I bought, and in these ones I have popped a spoon of the, sorry, the cats were, it's nearly their dinner time. I've put a spoon of the powder in there with some water, labelled it, put a little swatch on top. So these is good for flicking onto cards. Down the bottom is some more sprays. Got my cricket little knives and things there. And in here, got tape runner refills, my solar paste and lunar paste. And in the bottom there is my pan pastels. And then right down the bottom there is my sprays. Over here, I've got all my liquid pearls. And going down to the bottom there, I've also got perfect pearl powder. My planner lives there, scrap paper, and then Ohuhus, Copics, my Lavinia brushes, and then all of this here is where I use all my stuff all the time. I've got the new glue gun, which is fantastic. It's really saved my wrists. And this is a little jewellery organiser. Just got some spare bits and pieces in there. This I got from Temu. It's got all my glues that I use all the time. It's got my bone folders, pencil, tape runners, little glitter things there. My chamois lives up the top, and little things that I use to put my die cuts onto. My Misty tool that I made. That's just to pop the pin in from the top of my glue so I don't lose my pin. And this little fella I got from Temu, it's just sitting on top of a Lazy Susan. It's got all of my most used scissors, paintbrushes, pokey tool, knives, all that kind of thing lives there. So my drawer system on my desk here, I have my, my stencil magnet board just lives there, as does my non-stick sheet when I'm gluing, and my Simon Says stamp glass magnetic mat. And I've got some foam tape there as well. And then in the top drawer is all of my different tapes, small bits of glue, my low tack tape, and just some spare little notepads. Second drawer is embossing. I've got all my embossing powders, a couple of them, the white and the clear I've got in larger containers. And I've got my business stamp. It's a bit of a tight squeeze because these aren't as deep as the IKEA ones, unfortunately. Third drawer is my swatches of my sprays, and Simon Says Positively Saturated lives in there as well. I've also got, this is a clear foam tape, things for making swatches. Gina K Masking Magic lives in there, all of my little blending tools, and then this one gets a bit sticky just because these are, there we go. So this is my Altenew rounds. I've got to find a new home for them, they don't quite fit in that drawer. And then my new system for doing my ink cubes. These are all the Altenew, and there's more Altenew and mementos down the bottom. And then I've also used a clear pencil case for the finger daubers so I can see exactly what colours are in there. And down the bottom is Gina K and Lawn Form. And then we delve into the dark recesses under my table. Those two folders there just have more embellishments which I need to sort through. I've got spare Cricut vinyl, spare containers of my Christmas decorations down the bottom. In the corner is my scrapbooking trolley. And then this trolley here, the top of it is all Christmas papers and stamp cleaners. And then the drawer under that space underneath is craft punches. My heat gun lives there, as does the baby wipes for cleaning up. So I'm just going to move up again. And there's Miss Nala on one of the beds. Hi Nala. Now on this one I have Tim Holtz rotary cutter, the scanner cut, my Spellbinders Platinum 6, my Cricut machine lives underneath, and these are my card sketch things here. So I'm wondering which, I may not have put the photos on there yet, but basically I just download sketches or make my own. They all live there, which is next to me. And then in these drawers I've got my sponge blending foams there. This one has my gel plate, my pokey mat, sticky mats and a glue sponge. This one's all my notepads for thinking up things to teach, and that's spare glue things, Xyron. This one over here is some of the irons for the Cricut, and that's the transfer tape for the Cricut and the brayer. Got my other trusty paper trimmer, and then got my two favourite guillotines, some diamond paintings, the Tim Holtz little guillotine, and I've got my sponge blenders. They're the little handheld blenders which are really good for my wrist. My hot foil things, I don't have very much with hot foil. These are some more scraps of white, black and craft that I use. And then this is what sits behind me. So if we look all the way up, diamond paintings that have been finished or yet to be done. And then I've got some spare things for making albums and things. Some spare wet glue, spare glitter. They're the spare foam daubers and pipettes, Gamsol. That's more of the liquid powders that I've already made up, ready to go. Planner things, they're leather look material for albums. The crocodile and brother tape, hot cutting things or hot glue in there. Then the next shelf is all of my 12x12s, blank and patterned, specialty papers, my mini mink, another little guillotine, another little cutter there, and then my stamps. The ones that I don't have under the specific brand, I put into different genres. So those two have animals. I've just done a big cull actually, so the labels on the front aren't accurate at the moment. I haven't changed them. That one is monsters and food and stamps for blokes, that kind of thing. Steampunk, fantasy. And then the next shelf is sentiments in the first two. And then lawn fawn takes up two. And then I've got Mama Elephant, which is expanding out of one. And then I've got flowers and garden ones in there. And then clearly Besotted and Heffy Doodle are the remaining three. Then I've got my plain cardstock from different companies. A lot of this here is from Officeworks, it's the Quill brand. And I've got a few from Lawn Fawn and Heffy Doodle as well. And I've also got my Creative Memories trimmers there as well. And then my colour swatching normally hangs off of something when it's not in the way for me. Then I've got my labelling machine. I've got my card that I use for card bases, a few different companies there. This portion here is Creative Memories cardstock, and then Kaiser Craft, and then it is different companies that Spotlight sell. The next one down, I've got my small background stamps, and then all of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, are all my 6x6 papers. So as you can see, I need to do videos on how to use up a whole 6x6 pad, because I've got quite a few that need doing. And then I've got Lawn Fawn dies, and then all those containers there are spare adhesives, bookbinding things, tape runners, glue dots, all that kind of stuff I don't use very often. Then I have my album making cardstock there, and some circle punches, washi tape with my Inktense pencils sitting on top, paper that didn't fit anywhere else is sitting there, and then I've come down to spare white, spare black, spare craft card base cardstock. I've got my Nina and the J Burrows, which is Officeworks brand, for that's really nice to colour with Copics and things like that. Now, I was going to show you how I'm going to be doing my sentiments. Now I've put stuff all over my desk, there's no room, but that's okay. I've done my Christmas sentiments up. I'm just waiting for some more pouches to come in to do the normal sentiments. So I've just got all the different ones in a pouch, and I've taken a photocopy of the full sheet so I can just glance and go, oh yeah, okay, that's what it's in there. And then once they're all cut down, I know that that's what's inside that pocket. And also I have in here some card, they're card toppers ready to go from Polka Doodles. It comes in an A4 sheet. I've just cut it all down so that I can fit it into these pockets. But basically they offer card toppers. All you do is you cut out, put on a card, and you're done. And when I bought these a few years ago, they also offered dies to cut them out as well. So I've got them sitting in there. So they're all waiting to get made up into Christmas cards and tags. So that system, I think, is going to work better for me for the normal sentiments in that little box there, because I don't have any more of these boxes, unfortunately. But that's okay. We make do with what we have. On my arm of this mounting, I've got my clock, so I know that I am now overdue to feed the cats, which is why they're playing up. My headphones and paper towel. And then if I sort of shimmy around a little bit, behind the big light, I've got spare things. So I've got my old die cutting machine. That's just the box from the Go Press and Foil, which I'm keeping. My daughter's done some painting up there, which is finished and all rolled up. And the Cricut stuff that I've got an overflow of is all sort of sitting up there where I don't get to very often at all. And if I pan over to here, there's Miss Nala again. What you can see out there, it's a bit ramshackle at the moment, but that's the cat run. So when I'm doing voiceovers at night time and you can hear them crying, it's because they're out there and I'm in here with the light on, because they get locked up of an evening after they've had their dinner, so they can actually sleep and not destroy my house. So that's where they are, in there. So that is my craft room. And if I just come out this way a bit, I can show you. When I'm sitting down, that is the gap I have between my chair and what's behind me. And I'm standing in the doorway at the moment, so it is a very small space. So yes, you can craft in a small space. And this isn't even a room, it's just the side of the kitchen, which I've blocked off with a bookshelf. Alright guys, thank you so much. Let me know what you think. And if you've got any really good ideas for small spaces, and I'll catch you next time. Bye bye.